With the hero of this story, we will delve into the world of virtual reality and RPG, where life is at stake. Enjoy the viewing. The hero knocked on one of the doors. He decided to act quickly, but there was no opportunity to find out the exact location of the scavenger. A question came from behind the door, a male voice inquiring who had the courage to disturb him. Ran said that Captain Hook had returned from the mission. The door to the room immediately opened. The man was surprised that a stranger was providing him with information about Hook. Ran gathered courage and boldly replied that the boss always forgets about ordinary matters because Delay had previously introduced Ran as a newcomer. The scavenger pondered. Hook did indeed tell him about a fresh batch of newcomers in the hideout, and the guy could be one of them. He asked Ran about Hook's whereabouts and the couple Hook was supposed to catch. Ran was surprised by his luck. Indeed, behind the door was the boss of the bandits. He told the man the same story that had previously deceived the vigilant guard. The information pleased the scavenger. He decided to reward Hook for the successful hunt and was about to close the door, leaving Ran in the corridor. But the guy prevented him from closing the door. The hero reached his hand through the gap and pushed the door onto the boss. The man was surprised by what was happening. None of the familiar or unfamiliar people had behaved so boldly with him. Everyone in the city either feared the scavenger or respected his authority. Everyone except Ran. The guy used his knife to neutralize the bandit. Because the distance between them was quite large, after being wounded, the man took a few steps back. The hero watched as the scavenger retreated and slumped to the floor. Ran entered and locked the door to the boss's room behind him. An informational window about defeating the opponent appeared in front of the guy. At that moment, Ran heard a muffled moan from the bed. A pretty blonde in short shorts lay on the bed. The girl's hands and legs were tied to the poles, and she had a gag in her mouth.
Oh my!
Ran was surprised by what he saw, but he needed to react quickly if he wanted to escape from this hideout alive. Ran hurried to reassure the stranger. Any extra noise would hinder him from completing the mission. He promised not to harm the girl. On the nightstand to the right of the hero, a phone vibrated. Ran tensed. Someone from the scavenger's inner circle could be calling, and that meant the hero had minimal time for a successful completion of the task. Ran decided to answer the call to understand what he needed to prepare for. The stranger on the other end of the line was irritated and spoke disrespectfully. The man was angry that the scavenger took too long to answer the call. Ran understood that the caller was one of the scavenger's partners. The stranger didn't let the guy say a word. His speech was filled with complaints and demands. Seizing the moment, the hero informed the caller that he was not the person the stranger expected to hear because the scavenger had gone to hell. Ran decided to speak confidently and boldly to the man so that he wouldn't sense his fear and confusion. The man became even angrier. He was one of the officers of the rebels, and even the scavenger considered and flattered him. Yet, some youngster now behaved as if he were in charge. He began to threaten the hero. In response to his threats, Ran laughed. He didn't want to provoke the enemy prematurely, but he couldn't give in to the man's threats. The officer realized that the threat of physical violence didn't scare the impudent guy, so he decided to remind him that he was the one supplying food, water, and weapons to the scavenger's gang. Therefore, it would be better to satisfy all the requests he had previously made to the boss. Ran leaned over the scavenger's body to listen to his pulse. The man was dead. Ran decided to find out what exactly they had been negotiating with the officer earlier. The hero had some information, but there was always a chance to get new data. On the other end of the line, the man could be heard smirking. He wanted to get the promised works of art and valuables. They were definitely in the scavenger's room, so his deputy could easily find what he needed. Putting down the receiver, he gave orders to his soldier. The man wanted to figure out what was happening in the scavengers' hideout. If there was a coup and the gang split, they needed to destroy them all and take what belonged to the officer. The soldier listened carefully to the main orders and set off to carry out the task. Meanwhile, Ran was shocked by his audacity. The guy understood that he was not ready to face well-trained soldiers. Analyzing their conversation with the rebel, the meeting could take place today. Also, the hero understood that high risk promised him a good profit in the end. The officer of the rebels was a level above the scavenger. By eliminating the officer, he could raise the level of his character. This game scared with its seriousness because dying here meant losing life in reality. But he wouldn't have a chance in reality if Ran couldn't earn enough money for his treatment here. Returning from his thoughts, the hero remembered the blonde. All this time, the girl had been looking at him. Ran repeated that he wouldn't harm the girl and asked her not to make noise when he freed her. A bunch of bandits was still somewhere nearby. The blonde murmured something incomprehensible. Ran took these sounds as her agreement. He pulled the gag out of her mouth and skillfully freed her from the ropes. The girl looked at her savior with gratitude. During the time she was tied up, the beauty's body had become stiff. While the girl was freeing her legs from the ropes, the hero decided to look around the room. The officer was sure that his order was in the scavenger's possession, so there might be a safe or a hiding place in the room. Next to the bed stood an inconspicuous lingerie cabinet. Ran was greatly surprised to find that the cabinet served as an arsenal. It contained a lot of weapons and ammunition. The hero took a grenade in his hands. An informational window with the characteristics of the ammunition appeared before him. In the corner of the cabinet was a box with valuables. Ran thought that if he could take all this out of here, he would definitely become rich. However, the characteristics indicated that he could only admire them. That's what the hero did, sorting through a string of excellent pearls. Of course, the game creators wouldn't make the tasks too easy for a newcomer. The player who wants to earn will have a difficult path to achieve the goal. Ran took a rifle from the cabinet. The rules of the game must be followed as long as they make sense. The hero turned to the blonde, who was still sitting on the bed and rubbing her swollen limbs. He was going to deal with the remaining members of the gang and warn the beauty about his intentions. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave comments to help the new video come out as soon as possible. Have a great day.